Okay. Well, I am really excited today because we have one of my close friends in the field, Kim Riley, is joining us. And Kim, welcome to Accessible.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Um, so, we usually just start by asking people to tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the field. So you can start wherever you want with that.
Okay. Well, my name is Kim Riley, and I got started in the field because I have a son with autism and IDD, and I just from the time he was diagnosed, it was a desire to learn more and for him to be successful.
Mhm. How old was he when you first started either noticing or recognizing that he might have autism or some type of disability?
He was 2, and his communication, the language was not there, and he had one cousin who was about a year older than him, and her communication skills were soaring. And then he had another cousin who's about a year younger than him, and then when she started talking circles around him, I knew something.
Yeah. And so what were the steps or what did you end up doing at that point?
I thought we were dealing with a hearing issue, and so we he was getting therapy, and then the therapist recommended he get a developmental milestone exam, and so we went to Children's Mercy, and they diagnosed him with autism, and that was in 2001, and we have been on this journey ever since.
Yeah. Um, so Children's Mercy, that's here in Kansas City. Just for those of you who aren't from Kansas City, we're that's where we are, and they're a great hospital here in the greater Kansas City area. So, I mean, when you think about that journey, what have been some of the kind of the I don't know touchstone events or things when you think about your journey with your son?
Well, I think it's the first leg of that journey was just a season of mourning, mourning for the dreams and hopes that I had for him. I wanted him to go to Morehouse College in Atlanta, where Dr. King graduated from,
Yeah.
and go on to medical school and become a doctor and take care of his mama. And then we get this blow, and I'm like, well, what does it mean? And so then it just became a matter of, okay, what where are we going from here? And so it's just a nonstop journey to just kind of explore, find out his interests and skills, and to help to guide him to success.
Right. And so, Kim, just you are here partially today because you run something called the Transition Academy. And so, was that, tell us a little bit about the academy and then maybe how your journey supporting your son inspired that, the creation of it.
Sure. The Transition Academy, it is an in-school program. So we work with high school students with IEPs during the school day to prepare them for life after high school. So we engage them in real world learning activities so they get to roll up their sleeves and really kind of test drive different job skills and figure out what they enjoy doing and then guiding them to success so that when they leave high school, they're very clear on their next steps and we can close this harrowing um, employment gap that
Mm.
exists for people with disabilities.
Yeah, and reading about the Transition Academy, sort of the main vision is something you call economic inclusion. Can you talk a little bit about like what is economic inclusion?
Sure. Economic inclusion is being able to be a part of the American dream and to be able to earn income and to be able to be successful, to be able to be rich, and to be able to be happy. Whatever your goal is, um, really, your financial status determines your access to resources. If you want to be healthy, your ability to have quality health care is tied to your income. Your ability to go to grocery stores that have fresh fruits and vegetables and and good food is tied to your income. And so our goal is that our students leave high school um, on track, prepared, and that they are able to live the American dream, earn their own money, and to be contributing, productive members of society.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's what I love. I love the Transition Academy. Uh, so, can you talk like what are the things that you're doing in the schools to make sure that the young folks are able to do that?
So we start off with a number of assessments that help us to just kind of understand their skills and their interests. We found out that a lot of our students were really interested in entrepreneurship.
Hmm.
And so we're looking at really building out an entrepreneurship curriculum and connecting them with mentors and people who can help them to start their own businesses. Um, Along with the assessments, we take it to the next level and we bring in people from business and industry. They visit them in the classroom and talk
Oh
about what
wow!
they do. They also engage them in hands-on job activities, and then we also take them out on field trips or real-world learning experiences where they roll up their sleeves and they test drive different activities. We went to it was an allied union for painting and drywall, and the students literally got to understand how commercial painters and drywall installers how that works, and we were able to measure their learning from before the pre-post and the post test, and we could see, I believe it was like a 20% increase in their learning from actually rolling up their sleeves and participating in these activities. And so the more we expose them to, the more their minds are open. We do not want them to leave school and their goal is to stay at home and get an SSI check. Like
Yeah,
that's literally no way to live. And
right.
so I'm just hoping to change that trajectory by setting the bar of excellence
Hmm.
so that they achieve it. And the more we give them, the more they want.
Yeah. Hey, I'm curious, and I don't know even the right way to ask this question, but is it possible to achieve economic inclusion while also being uh, a part of sort of the service system within the, and I guess I could define that if you want me to, but just, is it possible to receive services and still um, achieve economic inclusion?
That's definitely the question, the answer to the question that we're searching for. Um, we believe that there is. We're
Hmm.
It's about there's customized resource packages, as you know, and
Uh-huh.
so if we know that, for example, SSI is extremely limiting,
Hmm.
then maybe if that wasn't the gold standard or the centerpiece of the package, if maybe being able to tap into voc rehab
Uh-huh.
resources, maybe that's the customized package that we aim for in many instances. And so it's about identifying the interests and the skills, and then what resources these youth are eligible for to get them to the finish line. And so one of those pieces we always know is going to be transportation.
Yeah.
And so we're looking at having a transportation forum. There's an interesting on-demand system with our area transportation association, and so we're literally looking at, well, could our youth be able to tap into some of those VR dollars
Hmm.
to pay for that round trip on demand service back and forth to work. And so I feel like the resources are there, but it's just up to us to understand which ones are there and how to access.
Hmm.
It reminds me of a lot of the conversations we've had with families on the topic of supporting families this season is that there
Mhm.
needs to be a combination of those eligibility specific supports, but then what other community resources or natural supports or personal strengths and assets all work together to help individuals with whatever it is that stage in life. So in this case, transition, but just the importance of, I like what you're saying, a customized package almost. Not every individual needs the same supports, right? And there's so many things they could draw from.
So is that something that you do in the schools also? Is that you sit with the students and their families and sort of help them customize you know, their own package?
That is exactly the work that we do. We've had several students who, one young lady, she really wanted to go to college, and she went on a college visit with her school. It turns out she had not done her FAFSA,
Mm.
hadn't done her application, and so literally, it was our team like sitting down with her one on one and guiding her through that process. And I think she got accepted, and I think she is literally off to college, leaving Kansas City, going to Harris Stowe, a historically black college and university in St. Louis.
Oh,
I think she
wow.
leaves this weekend. So yeah, that's what we do.
And that's a student with a developmental disability.
Absolutely.
That's
Hmm.
awesome. That's awesome.
I thought that I thought that the focus on entrepreneurship was really interesting. And how important do you think self-employment could be for people with disabilities to fill that employment gap?
Well, I think self employment has already proven to be a really viable path for people with disabilities. And so it's just natural for us to embed it into the curriculum and to make sure that as we're introducing students to different paths, that we include entrepreneurship. We are not interested in steering them in a specific path. We believe that they should have choice, like
Yeah.
we have choice, and that we just introduce it to them. We have a really amazing community with so many opportunities, and one it's there's no like better feeling than to put these opportunities in front of these young people, watch their eyes light up, and really to see them realize that's their purpose, that's what they want.
Mm. How many students are you working with, or is Transition Academy working with on an annual basis?
So last year, as part of our cohort with KCPS and charter schools,
Uh-huh.
we had 38 students
Uh-huh.
enrolled. And so we're in the middle of enrollment right now, of course, for the upcoming 24-25 school year.
Hmm.
But when we look at the work that we do to expose the metro, we help the KC Diversibility College and Career Fair. And
Uh-huh.
so we're serving Missouri, Kansas, urban, suburban, and rural. And
Yeah, I love
so,
that fair. That's awesome event, by the
thank
way.
you. And so we end up going to 218 that we're
Uh-huh.
serving across the metro.
Yeah. Well, I just, you know this, but we had a booth at the fair this year,
Uh-huh.
and um, had, I think, over 200 people come by our booth, and it's just an opportunity for us to connect in a way that we don't normally get to connect with families and youth. So it
Mhm.
was wonderful.
Great. We hope you come back next year too.
Oh, we will. We definitely will.
You talk a bit about the Transition Academy um, really feeling what you identified as a gap in sort of the transition services for um, students with disabilities transitioning out of high school. And so, for like areas in the state who don't have a transition academy, what would you recommend, or what would you say families need in order to help students, families, and individuals need in order to help with that transition period? Where could there be improvements in the system?
I One of the pieces that we're looking at is that very question of how do we help families to connect the dots. And so we're wanting to have some online training modules, some self paced training modules, so that those who are maybe outside of our service area, but who could still benefit, will have access to the resources. We're also going to be having some evening and weekend trainings this coming school year. So whether you join us in person or online, being able to talk through and also to be in community with other families who are on this journey. And so and so we're looking at how do we kind of launch some initial pieces, and then how do we create a sustainable solution so that families really across the metro, again, we're by state, so Missouri and Kansas, that they have a space where they can get reliable, up to date info. Also, that will be welcoming. We at the Transition Academy, we are very intentional. We are based in the urban core, and we serve Black and Brown students with disabilities. We want to make sure that students in the central city and families and teachers in the central city have access to information. And so we want to be a safe and welcoming space. We are not only bilingual, but we're bicultural. So we make sure that as we do this work, we're really launching it with African American and Latino families, and we know that if we get amazing results with this population, who is the most marginalized out of our already marginalized, underserved population, if we get it right with this subgroup, that we know that it will work anywhere. And so that is our goal. To We're getting inquiries really
Okay.
from a lot of people who just feel like even just the way we communicate, that it's just straightforward. It's like not jargon filled.
Hmm.
And so we want to just continue to be that space.
What an
Kim, can you
amazing
talk,
resource.
like, what are some of the challenges that that young people from the urban core, particularly those with developmental disabilities, um, have to overcome or get through in order to, have a successful transition?
I think that the systems that um, our government funds go to pay, they do not typically work for poor people of color.
Hmm.
And so when they come to us, they have been disappointed and even traumatized
Hmm.
over the years. And so having it's like one thing to know you need that resource, but knowing that the gatekeepers are trusted sources,
Hmm.
that is everything. Um, Also, these our systems, they don't talk to one another. So you already have our students in secondary education. They know how that system works. They've been there probably since they were preschool. So it's at least a guided, predictable system.
Right.
But then they're getting at an age where they need to be looking at they're going to transition from pediatric care to adult care.
Yeah.
Well, healthcare with people of color is a whole nother thing. And so many of them may not be up to date on a lot of their screenings. They may have had really scary experiences when we're talking about Latino families. Many of them are very rightfully so, afraid of different systems. And so we wanted to really make sure that we provided a safe space for them. So our website now, there's the main website, but we've now added a tab called PTA in Espanol. And
Mm-hmm.
so we're translating everything. And then not only a lot of people will translate and then they just leave it. Well, they have an actual person. If they have questions, we have a point person who will definitely reach out to them. And so we're just very intentional about making sure that our Latino families have a space.
The scope of what you guys are addressing is really significant, and just the um, being kind of like that navigator, like you're talking about, to kind of help them with that transition period and bring together all those siloed pieces of the systems, and then that
Mhm.
adding that layer of recognizing that an individual might need a service from an entity where they've experienced harm in the past, right? And just and
Mhm.
how do you navigate that? Like you need the service, and we recognize and acknowledge the harm that's been done, and how can we um, work in that with that knowledge? I think that's really profound, and what a resource you guys are. That's really amazing.
Mm. Thank you.
I also saw, because I was looking at your LinkedIn, Kim. You received some awards for some of this big work that you guys have been doing recently in the last couple of years, something from the Surge Institute, and you were named a new champion for the Educating All Learners Alliance in 2023. So I liked what it said on your profile, that you're an agitator, coming from the
Mhm.
outside, you're agitating kind of systems. And so I love that you described yourself that way. Wonder if you talk a little bit about that.
Mhm. Well, there's something about being an adult and paying taxes. I do not have a choice about paying taxes. And but that but then I look at who's on the receiving end and their stewardship.
Right.
And I'm asking a lot of questions because I'm paying a lot of taxes.
Yeah.
And I'm just
Fair.
saying, wait a minute, like we keep paying you to fix a problem that you haven't solved yet.
Mhm.
Like, why? I think that a lot of our systems that a lot of us are playing the cards that we're dealt who are in the system. And it's time to really look at some policies and to figure out what's working and what isn't working. I feel like we have plenty of money in the disability space. I do not believe it's being spent correctly. I believe, like at the Transition Academy, we're a cross trained team. So everyone, regardless of title, works directly with the kids. I'm in the classroom, I'm the CEO. Um, we just hired a um, occupational therapist. So as I'm interviewing her, I'm like, listen, we don't do the silo thing. Our families have enough silos. So you may very well have a class that your dedicated class. You will facilitate like the career discovery, career exposure, career exploration curriculum. You'll be that dedicated person. And then when you're done, you will kind of accompany um, your other colleagues in their classes, and you will then provide occupational therapy to those students. The same thing, I have a social services team. Social services team. We aren't just going to be writing referrals and you just sit up and everybody make an appointment at your lead. No, you're going to actually lead a classroom. And
Mhm.
that's going to be your classroom from the beginning of the school year to the end of the school year. And then on the days you're not leading, you're going to go into the other classroom and you're going to provide social services support. And so, as we're looking at what we are building and hoping to replicate, that needs to be the norm. There are
Mhm.
too many people who I just do my one little thing.
Mhm.
Right.
And because I check my boxes here, then it's done. Until that family, that individual gets what they need, it's not done. And it's not just enough to stay in your silo and do your job. So I think that
Mhm.
as an agitator, I'm constantly saying, we can't even keep this up. Like it's not working for anyone. So why do we keep doing this? And why do we keep funding people to study this problem? We already know what the problem is. Like we need to get to a stage of innovation, and it doesn't
Mhm.
make me very popular. I feel like it's just time.
Yeah. I just, I love what you're saying. Just sort of an editorial. My part is that I feel like our paid service system um, just tries to funnel. I don't even know if they mean to, but what ends up happening is people get funded into congregate, um,
Hmm.
segregated uh, uh,
Setting.
settings, and
Hmm.
um, and so and I don't know how to change that, but I love that you are agitating that system and that you're doing something different so that young people with disabilities can be not just included in our economic system, but included in our whole society. I love
Absolutely.
that.
Thank
Well, I think that economic inclusion piece is um, so neat to have named because you just tied it, Kim, to the independence that you experience with, economic mobility, that then you get to
you.
choose the life that you want, right? And you get to participate and show up the way you want. And that economic freedom is tied to that. And yeah, I think that that sort of moves away maybe from like inclusion as tokenism, right? Versus like this
Right.
is an empowering inclusion that allows you to drive it, be in the driver's seat of your own life, right? Or at least one of many tools that can. So I really think
Yeah. So what? I mean, we've kind of talked about this, but when you think about the next 5 years uh, for transition outcomes, what are some of the things that you see coming or happening, or I don't know, either that we need that you think are good, or things that we need to really be aware of so that we can avoid them? Or, if you had your crystal ball, what would you say we need to be excited about or aware of?
I think that our young people are just like really thirsty for information. I think our teachers are thirsty for information. They have their hands full with academics. And so, if we could really support them holistically on the transition side, that would be great. I think that the barrier, again, getting those systems to talk to each other, getting workforce to be able to talk to special education, because I feel like there's a lot more resources for general ed students. It's just
Mhm.
natural that they're having these experiences, and it's time to create that for youth with disabilities. Just normalize it. We're getting to the point where the general ed kids are like, well, why they get to do everything? Why can't we be a part of the
that's.
transition academy? Like that's what we want. And then also
Mhm.
we have to stop talking in our jargon. A lot of the
Yeah.
cool stuff that's going on, it could be cool, but if we lace it with all this ridiculously complex language, then
Mhm.
we're going to just kind of like push people away when we really want to draw them to us. We want to create allies. We want our kids and our families to be excited instead of stigmatized that
Mhm.
they're in some super complex, weird world, And so I hope that we really, in 5 years, that we could kind of normalize transition planning, and that we could just start realizing that um, that there's fun, that there's joy in the next life, and we have so many really smart people in our disability space. And of course, I'm not at all implying that we need to, you know, do away with smart people. I'm not saying that, but sometimes I think the smart people, they have so much access to power, and they kind of dictate the agenda, and they tend to overcomplicate things.
Yeah, wow. I think that's really awesome, Kim. I mean, I think even in the last year, probably I've been working here at the USED for over a decade now, but I've seen more coming out in terms of, this is just speaking from the academic perspective, coming out about like, why are all our reports like not in plain language where like
Hmm.
anyone can read and learn this information, and kind of thinking about transitioning from like, let's not make this a big academic paper, but like if we want this to be like picked up by the community and implemented, like we need to package it different, and we need to talk in a different way, and uh not always have on our academic or research hat. There's knowing your kind of audience and the purpose behind some of the work that we
Hmm.
do, that we're kind of mandated to do as a you said, but really thinking about how are we that bridge between like uh academic knowledge to the community. And that's something that I think we can always do better in and grow in. So um, I love that. Really cool.
Well, just like every time I'm around you, Kim, I always get so fired up and inspired. So thank you for that. I'm really excited that our listeners will get to hear this. Um, so if people want to learn more about you, about the Transition Academy, where can they go?
They can visit our website, thetransitionacademy.org.
Okay, we'll definitely put that link in our show notes below. Um, so any last words, Kim, before we sign off?
I just want to thank you all for, of course, the work you do. Thank you for your friendship, George, and partnership with IHD, and just to, I think, challenge us to just have some fun. We just
I
came out
love
of a global pandemic, and we can do this work with having fun. So many of our populations, they talk about struggling with isolation.
that.
Can we just kind of have, go to some community events together? Can we, can we not, um, I know we have to do needs assessments, and I know we have to kind of do our studies, but can we also, as we're studying the problem, can we also like work on solutions and
Yeah,
just not complicate things so much? Life is, I mean, we're in such a, I feel like a toxic society. And so,
yeah,
Mm.
yes, we need to be able to quantify, some information within our population, but can we meet that very real need and make
mhm,
sure that our population is just included in the rest of the population? If you like see a concert that's coming up, like, can we just get tickets and go, together and
yeah.
just party it up amongst the people? It just,
Oh, I love that.
like, it just doesn't have to always be, oh, 78% of people said they're, struggling with isolation.
I
Okay,
love it.
like, let's literally curate some events and some opportunities to,
Oh
Mhm.
yeah,
to hang out. Let's just think a little creatively, and
I
not
Mhm.
love that.
always, kind of going by the book and following the playlist that we've always
I
followed.
love that. I was just in a meeting yesterday with one of our staff who's originally from Mexico, and we were planning an event, and I was just my academic self being like, well, we're going to go there and we're going to, from this time to this time, we're going to ask this question. And he was like, wait, George, we need to have some fun. We're going to bring some food. We're going to have a party, and then we'll ask our questions. But we're not doing any of that until we have fun first. And I was like, you're right. We do need to have more fun. And
We do.
I think that's a great message. So, thank you, Kim. We really appreciate your time.
Oh, thank you all.